Hey guys, it's me. It's been a while for my second episode of my bipolar coaster. Uh, so one of the feedback things that I got from my very good friend Mel is that I need to get a tripod or something because you can tell that I'm not using a steady surface to film on. And that is correct. I don't have a steady surface to film on at the moment, so we are going to have to deal with a little bit of motion sickness. Maybe. We'll see. Uh, I hope things are doing well for everybody. It seems since my last medication adjustment, I've been doing okay. Uh, the increase of bupropion and the increase of Lamictal seem to have had a desired positive effect, and I'm more controlling my emotions. Oh, and I hope everybody had a good holiday, Christmas, New Year, Yule, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, Boxing Day. If I left anything out, I'm sorry. I don't think Diwali is during December, and neither is Ramadan. So, but for those two holidays, even though I'm extremely late, I hope you had good days for those as well. So, the last time we talked, I was telling you about why husband one is very, very wonderful and I'm very loyal to him. Well, since that time of that suicide watch, um, we kind of worked together. It was he and I working together to try and figure out what we need to do to get me better. And this was before we realized I needed to start seeing a shrink. I'm sorry, not seeing a shrink, seeing a psychiatrist. Because I was already seeing my therapist at the time, and she had not suggested that I see a psychiatrist yet. When I did finally go to a psychiatrist, I couldn't look her in the eye. My therapist had to go with me. And I was crying and knitting at the same time. All right, hang on here. Let's set you up. So, crying and knitting and at the same time, and all these wonderful things, and I would barely look at her. I would barely talk. I couldn't give her anything to work with. But she said she'd seen worse, which I felt was hard to imagine for me. So she started me on a few things. We learned that Lamictal was good, but too much Lamictal made me tired. Oh, sorry, there's a mosquito or something in the house. But it started to help. And then we added in the Wellbutrin. And things were okay until they weren't. It would work for a little while and then it wore off. And then we would work a little while and wore off. And a few months later, she said, okay, I have an idea. Let's add Effexor. So we did. We added Effexor, and that seemed to be the magical cocktail for me. The Lamictal, the Effexor, and the Wellbutrin all seemed to be the magical cocktail for me. You can look this up online, but the generic versions are lamotrigine, bupropion, and venlafaxine, I think. Again, I suggest looking them up online. I am not a pharmacist. I am not a doctor. I am recalling this from memory. I won't say it's been easy. It took a while to find the correct cocktail for me. And I won't say that that it's been overly hard either. What I will say is that it would have been very easy for me to give up after it wasn't working. And I understood wanting to give up after the first medication didn't work properly. And then after the second medication didn't work properly. Excuse me. But my psychiatrist stayed with me and said, look, let's, it's going to take some time to tweak these. Just work with me. Let's do this. And the thing is, guys, I wanted to be better. I wanted to be better. I wanted to not cycle so much. Because I'm going to tell you something. Going from crying because the mail was late to overly happy that my cat decided to spend time with me, a little bit taxing on the brain. I believe in my last video, I went over how exhausting it was to be bipolar. And it really was. As a matter of fact, when my psychiatrist diagnosed me as bipolar, and I took that to my therapist was shocked, was absolutely shocked. She said she would have guessed several other disorders before bipolar because apparently I mask it really, really well. Well, I'm also on the autism spectrum, and I mask that really, really well until I say something completely off the wall that will bring an entire room of people having conversation to a dead silent, can hear a pin drop moment, or until I start stimming. And stimming is when you do stuff like rock or walk in circles or pace or whatever, as a self-soothe situation. But it's exhausting because at first I was going over everything in my head. Everything I said, everything I did. Excuse me, I am so sorry. This apparently is going to be the video of yawning. To anyone, I was walking on eggshells all the time. All the time. It was painful. I was tired all the time emotionally. Forget physical. I was emotionally tired. And the problem is I was already overweight. I was morbidly obese. And guys, we're talking like 426 pounds. No, I'm not joking. And I was so emotionally tired, I couldn't do the physical to get rid of it. Then I decided to do the physical to get rid of it. And I was still emotionally tired. But doing the physical helped with the emotional exhaustion a little bit, not a lot. I was just too tired to care. When you are physically too tired to give a crap, you're too tired to give a crap, okay? So I got to a point where I lost 110 pounds on my own. It was great. Everything was wonderful. And then I broke my ankle. And then I gained back 70 of that 110, so that put me at 385 pounds. And that's where I struggled. I stayed and I struggled. And I walked. I went to the gym. I ate as healthy as I could. There's always room for improvement in diets. Let's be honest, we all don't eat healthy, not gonna lie, but you eat as healthy as you possibly can, or you think you can. Because a lot of people use food as a comfort mechanism, but that's a whole other video for a whole different day. I fell into a pretty deep depression after I broke my ankle because I couldn't exercise. And I couldn't do things like, I couldn't do things like be too exhausted to think all the time. You'll have to excuse me. Lucy wants to go downstairs, and, well, we don't want cat pee all over the place. So, go. So all I did was think about how exhausted I was and how I needed to... Sorry. There we go. Sorry. How I needed to pay more attention to what I said and when I said it and this, that, and the other and blah, blah, blah. And it's hard. It is really hard to think about that all the time. When you lay in bed at night, and everybody's done this, you lay in bed at night and you're thinking about that confrontation you had with a bully in 7th grade, and you come up with the perfect response about 25 years too late. Yeah, that's what I was doing all the time, about every second of every day. It is not fun. Oop, sorry. So, I had to learn how to cope. I had to learn how to cope because if I didn't, I would be worse off than I was before I started going to my psychiatrist. The thing is, I can't take responsibility of how people will react to anything I say, with the exception of if I am intentionally trying to hurt someone. Intention means a lot in my world. Anyway, you don't have to agree. It's just the way I feel. If I say something very, very mean to someone with the intention of hurting their feelings, then yes, I am responsible for hurting their feelings. However, if I say something to someone, like a joke or whatever, with no intention of hurting their feelings or anything like that, and they decide to be hurt, then that's not my responsibility. A lot of learning how not to walk on eggshells is learning what to take responsibility for. You can take responsibility for your actions, but not the ones of those around you. My husbands will always be who they are. I can't change them, but I can change the way I react to them. For instance, husband 1 has seriously been looking for fights lately. He's been stressed out, and he really just wants to blow a gasket. And the thing is, I'm not taking the bait, which is kind of funny because that pisses him off worse. But it also makes him stop and think about what he's doing. So there's that. what other things about my past I can talk about? I mean, I'm sure that they'll come up. Husband two and I went to his hometown for New Year's. We had a lot of fun, with the exception of me getting sick from a contact high of a friend of theirs. Basically, I got a contact high from their friend smoking up, and I already have an allergy to the smoke. Apparently, I have an oversensitivity to the actual stuff. If I have to explain this further, then please, go look up contact high and go from there. I'm the only person I know of my age that has never smoked or done any type of recreational drug ever in my life. I've smoked a cigarette once when I was 14. If I'm going to drink alcohol, it's going to be tequila all day long. But outside of that, not done any of it. So, yeah, being sensitive to the smoke that was left over, a little bit expected. I told husband when that happened, and he said it was very, very possible that I got a contact high. He said he would bet the farm that I got a contact high. Other than that, we did have a lot of fun. We ended up going to take care of some business for husband too, the day after New Year's, and it extended into Friday. But that business was taken care of, and now husband two is extremely happy and has a lot of stress off of his shoulders. And husband one and I are talking about some things that he's been feeling lately, because he has not exactly voiced what's going on in his head. And that's not good. Part of my polyamorous world, is checking in with my relationships and my partners to make sure that they are getting their needs met. Now, that being said, I can only do so much. So what I will do for relationship check-ins is, with husband one, we will go to breakfast or brunch or dinner, or we'll be just sitting here, and I'll look at him and I'll say, okay, how are you feeling? Are you getting your needs met? Are you getting things from me that you need, that I can realistically provide? Do you need more of touch? Do you need more of this? Do you need more of the other? And the reason I do it that way is because husband one is very logical. And if I could put things to him in a linear fashion, a bullet pointed way, he actually does very well with, okay, yes, I need more touch time, or I need more time alone, or I need you to recognize that I do X, Y, and Z more. And honestly, I don't know what that means. Okay. Honestly, I appreciate that. Because it tells me what I can do to help the relationship. I'm totally good with that. Okay, seriously? Oh, no, 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 no. Don't do that, iPad. Anyway. Now with husband two, while he's a very compartmentalized person, all I have to do with him is look at him and say, okay, are we good? Is there anything else I can provide you? What's going on in your head? And he'll look at me and he'll say, we're good. Or he'll say, no, we need to talk about this. But with husband two, it gets talked about as it happens. Whereas with husband one, having the relationship check-ins once a week or once every couple of weeks is more helpful. Everyone is different. What works for me may not work for you. And husband one finally came to me and said, look, I'm having this feeling and that feeling and the other feeling. We need to talk about this and what we can do about it. And we did. And I have to say I was a little upset because at our relationship check-ins, he said everything was fine. So this has created a little bit of a trust issue. And I noted that. And he said he understood. And I said, okay, are boundaries being violated? And he said, no. I said, do we need to adjust our boundaries? Because if we do, then we need to sit down with the boundaries and see what needs adjusting. And he said, I need to think about it. And I said, that's fine. That's fair. I said, now what can we do to prevent you from blindsiding me like this again? Because you hit me out of the blue, not physically hit me, guys, but he hit me out of the blue with this, I feel X, Y, and Z, and I feel A, B, and C. And he goes, okay, I understand where you felt blindsided, and I apologize. He said, and you're right, we do need to make sure that the lines of communication are open and stay that way. I said, okay, so we're going to check in about this again, or at least I will check in about this again in about a week. You know, give him some time to percolate and think on it and see what he says. Other than that, not a whole lot's going on in my life. Work is work. I've actually been fairly productive this week, which surprises me because I'm usually not. They ate my... I see something shiny and I'm just like, oh, shiny. And I run off like Dory. Husband 2 and I had a really good night on Monday because that's our date night now. And there was some much needed time together that we didn't get on our trip. And we haven't had in a while. So that's good. And the dogs are okay, and the cats are okay, and everybody's doing good. So I guess this is going to be a shorter video. The conductor of my bipolar coaster is just giving you guys a short ride today. I really hope that if you're having problems, you are talking to someone. If you're not talking to someone, write. Pick up a notebook, pick up a pen or a pencil and write. Also, do not, I cannot emphasize this enough. Do not make New Year's resolutions. They do not work, and they only make you feel bad about yourself. As a matter of fact, I read somewhere once, and this may no longer be the case, but when I read it, it was, January 10th is the day of the highest rate of suicides, because that is the day when people realize whether or not they're going to be able to keep their New Year's resolution. So if you actually make a New Year's resolution, do so with one that's reasonable. Like, resolve to get moving more. Don't be stringent about it. You know, if getting moving more means you go outside to the mailbox and back, hey, you fulfilled that resolution. It's great. And honestly, for some, going to the mailbox and back is some serious exercise. And it is exercise. It is something. But don't make an unrealistic resolution like, oh, well, I'm going to make, all these changes in my life this year. This is going to be the year of blah, blah, blah. No, no, honey, no. It doesn't work like that. Because you don't pick a day to decide to change. When you decide to actually make a change in your life, you start right then. You start right then. And the hardest part about making a change in your life is actually making the decision to change. I said earlier that my highest weight was 426 pounds. I am no longer at that weight. I am, as of yesterday, around 270, 275. I'm really not supposed to be getting on the scale anymore, but, old habits. So, my New Year's resolution would be to take the batteries out of my scale. Okay? That's doable. If I absolutely must have the batteries in my scale, then the scale has to be put away where I can't randomly weigh myself. And this is because it's very easy for someone like me, who is a type A personality, to get on the scale 4 or 5 times a day, because I've done it, to see what I weighed in the morning, what I weighed in the afternoon, what I weighed before I pooped, what I weighed after I pooped, and what I weighed before going to bed. I justified it by saying, oh, well, I scientifically want to know how my weight fluctuates throughout the day. No. I did it because I needed to see that lower number. It doesn't work like that. Not in the least. And the reason I bring that up is because if I didn't see the lower number, I would get depressed. And then I would go do something or watch a TV show or eat, because that the sugar tickles your happy place. It does. Sugar tickles the happy place in the brain. That's why it's 1,000 times more addictive than heroin. And then I would be overly happy again. And then I crash. And then I'm up. And then we start another emotional roller coaster. You see how it all ties in? So, I hope everybody had a good week, as this is Thursday the 9th. Tomorrow is the 10th. If you're having problems, contact the National Suicide Prevention Hotline. As a matter of fact, hey Siri. Oops. Hey Siri. Can you give me the number of the National Suicide Prevention Hotline?
You can reach the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline at 800-273-8255. Would you like me to call them for you?
No. You heard it.
I don't have an answer for that.
Okay, now I've got to turn Siri off. The National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. If you're having problems, call them. I'm going to look up the number. It is 800-273-8255. They also, if you don't feel like calling, they also have a website. You can chat. Talk. You can always make the decision to do something later. Personally, for me, a permanent fix for a temporary problem is not a good idea. Okay? So, oh, you stuck with me for another 8 minutes. Let me know how you guys are doing. I really hope that everybody has a good weekend. Oh, and go LSU Tigers on the 13th. You can beat Clemson. Hell yeah. All right, everybody. I hope you have a great weekend, and I will see you next time on my bipolar coaster. Bye.